Guys, I'm going to hand out another worksheet, and then we'll do the one half of that worksheet, the same stuff as this. Okay, we're going to do that now before we start with new work. So I'll give you a few minutes, and then like we've done before, if you're not done by the end of those minutes, then you'll have to do it for homework. So you can actually, if you want to, you can cut off the second half of the page, the one with the tables on. If you want to do that. Oh, you can also now you have to turn it off. Right, we have the two different little graphs at the top, and you're going to pull in. So you're going to do the same thing, guys. You're going to take the gradient. You're going to write down C, and then you're going to write your equation. I made a mistake in G. Can we fix that one? Sorry. No, I didn't. Here. 5 minus -3 -6. Okay, how is that? Yeah, but you have to do it like that. You have to do it minus. Guys, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. Please get going. Then we must do a new note. Okay, for the first one, A, which is that line over there. Okay, now you might have already started and you might have chosen 2 different points. It's fine. I'm going to do that one, which is 0, 2. And let's do that one, which is -2, 0. Okay, then I'm going to do the gradient, which remember is y value minus y value over x value minus x value. So I'm going to take this y value 2 minus that one, which is 0, over this x value 0 minus that one, which is negative 2. So remember your negative, negative. Okay, if you are subtracting a negative number, you have to write it like that. And that's actually going to become a plus. All right, so at the top, what is 2 minus 0? 2 minus 0, 2. At the bottom, what's 0 plus 2? Also 2. So we have 2 over 2. What's that? 1. Guys, once you've written this down, that fraction, you can type it into the calculator. It will give you the answer. Okay, you're more than welcome to do that. What is my C value? Let's look at this line. Where does it cut the y-axis? At 2, hey? So my C value is 2. Therefore, the equation is y equals mx. What is my m value? 1. So you can write 1x if you want, or you can just write x plus c. My c value is 2. So plus 2. That is the equation. Okay, that's what you have to do for all of these, guys. First find 2 points, then you calculate the gradient, then you write down your c value, then you write your equation. Okay, I'll give you some more time. I'll give you until 1/2 past. And then whatever you haven't finished by, then you'll have to finish the whole piece. You can just leave it like that. Sorry, that's yes. Not which one is the first one. Well, sorry. You should remember that we've done one way of drawing a straight line graph, right? The dual intercept method. That is where you find the y-intercept, you find the x-intercept, you plot them, and you connect them. Okay. We can use that method in most cases. But there are some graphs, I'll show you a few of them, where we actually have to use a different method. All right. That is for the gradient intercept method. I've started writing down the note. You can just copy that down and then I'll explain it and we'll do some examples. I'm just going to make a note here at the top of when we're going to have to use this. Okay, guys, we are going to go through those steps now when we actually apply it. Okay, but what is important is that this method you will only need to use when your C value is 0. Okay, I'll show you now why that is the case. We know that this is the standard form, right, of any straight line equation. Y equals mx plus c. Now, if c is 0, then that means that there isn't actually a c, right? Or there is a c, but it's 0, but they're not going to write it. Okay, so it's going to look like this. It's going to look like just y equals mx. So for example, y equals 2x, y equals 3x, y equals negative 4x. Okay, no extra, no constant term, no c value. All right, so if they've given you an equation like this, and remember m will be a number. Okay, we are going to do examples now. We can see here that there is no c value written. That means that it's 0. Okay, so then c is 0, which means your y-intercept is the point 0, 0. Guys, do we remember for y-intercept? Your x value is always 0, right? And your y value is c, okay? So if it looks like this, your y-intercept is going to be the point 0, 0. What do we call this point? It has a specific name. The origin, yes. Sorry, Sleeper, is that what you're going to say? Yes, this is the origin. Okay, so 0, 0 is the origin. Now, guys, you should remember that the origin is the point where the two axes cross, right? Do we remember that? If we have a Cartesian plane here, we can draw a small one. That point in the middle, that is the origin. Now, guys, that is a strange point in the sense that if your graph has a y-intercept that is at the origin, right? So I'm going to put a point there. Isn't that the x-intercept as well? Look at that point. It's definitely the y-intercept, right? Because it goes through the y-axis. If we had a line like that, for example, okay, you don't have to draw that in, but if that was our line, the line goes through the y-axis at 0. But isn't that the same point where it goes through the x-axis, right? So if your y-intercept is 0, 0, that is actually your x-intercept as well. Okay, so here underneath, you can say, and that point is the x-intercept as well. Now, guys, if we want to use dual intercept method, we have to have two separate intercepts. We have to have an x-intercept, which is one point, and a y-intercept, which is another point, so that we can connect the 2 points to get our line. If we have this situation where the one point is the y-intercept and the x-intercept at the same time, do I have 2 points there on that line? I only have one. All right. So if that is the case, you cannot use the dual intercept method because there is actually only one intercept. The y-intercept and the x-intercept is the same point. Therefore, y-intercept and x-intercept is the same point. Therefore, cannot use dual intercept method. Guys, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the gradient to help us to find a second point. Okay, we're going to have our point 0, 0. That's 1 point on the line. That's great. We need another one. Now, do you guys remember yesterday when we were discussing gradient, we wrote the gradient as a fraction, and then the number at the top was how we're counting up or down. The number at the bottom was how we're counting to the left or the right. Does that ring a bell? We did like a counting thing yesterday using the gradient. That is what we're going to use to find the second point on our line. Okay, let's remember that m, so that m value there, that is the gradient. What is the formula for the gradient? Not the one with the specific values, just the basic one, Sipe? Yes, good. Change in y over or divided by change in x. Now, guys, like we said yesterday, your change in y is how you are moving up or down. If it's a positive, you're moving up. If it's a negative, you're moving down. So this change in y is actually going to be up or down. Your change in x is going to be left if it's negative or right if it's positive. And that is what we're going to use to find a second point on the line. Okay, we're going to do an example now so that you can see how we're actually going to do it. So for example, draw the line y equals 2x. That is the equation that we're going to draw. Now guys, the method that we've used in the past to draw a line is we would find the y-intercept, then we would find the x-intercept, we'll plot them both, and that's our line. Okay, let's try that. What is the y-intercept here? What is my c value? What number is written after the 2x? 0, essentially. Hey, there's no c value. That means that c is 0. So let's write, that's step 1. That's the first step that we wrote down at the top there. Find the y-intercept. So for the y-intercept, my c value is 0. Therefore, the y-intercept is 0, 0. Remember, guys, for y-intercept, the x value is always 0. And then your c value is y. Now we see, okay, this is the origin. That means that this is my x-intercept as well. You're going to have to remember that. Okay, they're not going to tell you that. You're going to have to memorize that. So as soon as you see 0, 0 is your y-intercept. This is the x-intercept as well. Therefore, must use gradient. Okay, that you're going to have to remember, guys. If your y-intercept is the origin, 0, 0, then you're going to have to use the gradient. What is step 2? Write the gradient as a fraction. We did that yesterday as well, hey? So step 2, write the gradient, which is m as a fraction. What is my gradient here? What is my m value? 2. So m is 2, but if I want to write that as a fraction, what can I do? How can I write that as a fraction? 2 over 1. Okay, if it's a whole number, you can always just put it over 1. All right, and that is the fraction. That is telling me, because there's a positive 2 at the top, I'm going to have to count 2 up. Positive 2 is 2 units up. Let's write that there. 2 units up. Right, the number at the top is your change in y. It's how you move along the y-axis. Does that make sense, guys? This is the y-axis, right? So if you're moving along the y-axis, you're either going up or you're going down. Okay, so that's why the number at the top is moving up or down. It's the change in y. The number at the bottom is change in x. So moving either to the left or to the right. If we're moving along the x-axis, we're moving from side to side. If it's positive 1, we're going to move in the positive direction. Okay, this is like a number line, guys. That's 0. This is going into the positives. That's going into the negatives. So if it's positive 1, we're going to move 1 unit to the right. Okay, that is 1 unit to the right. Okay, that's basically all we need to write down before we draw our line. So let's do a number, or not a number line, a Cartesian plane. I'm just going to do 3 and 3, all right? So 6 lines down like that. And then I'll do 3 centimeters and 3 centimeters again. I'm just going to extend it a bit for my arrows. Okay, guys. First, we're going to plot our y-intercept, which was what again? The origin. So draw an actual point there on the origin, please. There's already a circle around it. Now you must just make a point there. Now you're going to keep your pen or your pencil preferably, but it's fine if you're doing it in pen now. In a taster exam, do these in pencil. Okay, so you can erase them if you do something wrong. You're going to put your pen or your pencil there. Now we're going to literally, with our pen or pencil, count. Right, where we stop counting, we're going to have a point. So we're going to count 2 units up. So from here, we're going to count 1, 2 lines up. And then from there, we're going to count 1 unit to the right. So we're going to count 2, 1. There where you stop counting, you're going to plot your second point. Now you have 2 points. Now you can connect them, and that is your straight line. Okay, we are going to have to label that point. We'll do that now. Let's just draw the line quickly. In order to label your line, you're going to have to read, or label the point rather, sorry, this new one that we did now. You have to read off on your axes. Which x value is this point in line with? 1, hey, because we counted from 0, we went up, but we were still on 0 on the x-axis. We counted 1 to the right. So that should take us to an x value of 1. Okay, so our x value of this point is 1. What is the y value? 2. Hey, we counted from 0, we counted 2 units up. So the y value is 2. So that is the point 1, 2. Guys, unfortunately, if that point is not labeled, you're not going to get a mark for it. Okay, so you can have the point there, but you have to have it labeled to get that mark. Okay, does that make sense, guys? You plot your y-intercept 0, 0. You look at your gradient that you have to write as a fraction because there's a 2 at the top, we count 2 up. There's a 1 at the bottom, we count 1 to the right. And that is our next point. Okay. Let me give you one of these to do on your own quickly before we go. So this is another example. Draw the line. Y equals 2 over 3x. What is the C value there, guys? There is no C value, hey? There's no number written after the x. There's no constant term. So C is 0, so the y-intercept is 0, 0. You can write that down together. The y-intercept, C is equal to 0. Therefore, that point is 0, 0. Now you must recognize that is the origin, so you have to use the gradient method. The nice thing about this gradient, guys, they've already written it as a fraction. Do you see that? In the previous one, it was 2, and we had to write that as 2 over 1. This one is already 2 over 3. So you don't have to write it now as a fraction if it's already a fraction. Okay, so your gradient is 2 over 3. The number at the top is change in y. That's moving up or down. It's positive 2, so we're going to move 2 up, right? If it's positive 2 at the top, 2 units up. At the bottom, we have a 3. It's positive 3, so that's going to be 3 units to the right. Okay, draw that line on your own, please. You're going to have to set up a Cartesian plane. You can do 3 by 3 again, all around. You plot your 0, 0, then you count from there, 2 up and 3 to the right. Label that point. Okay, I'll just show you quickly what mine looks like. Here we go. All right, so you plot your point there on the origin or at the origin inside that circle. Then you're going to count 1, 2 up, and then 1, 2, 3 to the right. Okay, please write those coordinates down. It's along or in line with 3 on the x-axis and 2 on the y-axis. So the point is 3, 2. Okay, grade 9's your homework for tomorrow is that other worksheet. Hey, if you haven't finished it yet, that first one, where you have to find the equation. And then tomorrow, we're going to practice drawing straight line graphs using the 2 methods kind of mixed together. All right, but you don't have to draw, oh, not tomorrow. Also not on Friday. Oh, goodness, on Monday. All right, so your homework for Monday is that little worksheet. Okay. Sure, so I'm only seeing you guys 3 more times this term. That's a bit of a shocker for me now, but okay, we'll manage.